first thing we want to say is, what is professional presence? I've never seen a definition of it in any book. And so I wrote my own, and I invite you to write your own. It's like a puzzle. If you can do and master certain actions and pieces of the puzzle, when you put it all together, somebody will know that you've got professional presence when you're walking toward them down the street. You can tell it in an instant. Even if they don't know the term, they know that you've got something special. In my classes, and I'm sure in yours too, we give an overview before every class session. It's nice to have a roadmap, know where you're going. Today, for the next few minutes, let's talk about what this intangible quality is, and these are the pieces that we can use in the puzzle. How do you make a positive first impression in the first 20 seconds? I could teach the whole lesson here today as an entire course. Some universities have that. That would be great if we could. But I'll build it in at least 1 or 2 sessions of my classes. And we could talk about dressing for success for 3 weeks, probably. But I have 2 tips to give, just 2 tips, that will make a very positive difference in the clothes you choose and how you learn yourself. I had to add this about 6 or 7 years ago. You know why? We all deal, and do business internationally, even if we never leave home. We're dealing with people and interacting with people from all different cultures. So this is very important, and awareness of the importance of it. This is what people think of first. Whenever you talk about etiquette, building, and dining, we're going to look at some place setting, and I'm going to give you just about 5 or 6 pointers that will help you dine comfortably, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Because, I go to Mass every morning, and the mayor is there. He comes every morning. And I've heard him say after Mass to somebody, I'll see you at the Yellowbird Cafe in a few minutes. Are they going just to enjoy a nice breakfast? They're going to do business too, accomplish something. The way time is today, we use every bit that we can have the most efficiently and effectively that we can. And he needs to know manners for breakfast as well as lunch and dinner these days. And we'll talk about how you can do that. You and I know how important this is, of course. It's one of the top 3 skills that are lacking. The top recruiters in the large cities say, in our college graduates. And so we're going to talk about communication skills, especially nonverbal skills. I had to add this about 3 years ago. Now it's highly in demand. Our Lady of the Lake called me a couple of summers ago and asked me to do a 3-day seminar for their employees, and that's impressive that they know how important this is. Well, one of the things they wanted me to address was electronic etiquette with utilities, so that no employee would run over a patient in the hallway while they were. That happens everywhere, Finally, we want to end with what is the key to professional presence, and I'll give you a hint. It's not a list of do's and don'ts, a list of rules. It comes from the heart. Every class I teach, from the very first day that Dr. Susan gave me the opportunity to teach, I have a quotation for today. And now I have around 150. I've developed them for every semester and add to them. And I will tell you that the first semester that I taught, at the end, one of the students came up to me and said, Miss Anna, quotation for the day was my favorite part of the course. You know what? I was kind of shattered when I thought that. You know what? It's a great thing because I use them to teach ethics, social responsibility, values, and we have one at the beginning of every class or every course. Would you like a quote today? Oh, glad you said that. This is the First Lady of Etiquette. Emily Post. And Emily Post was born in Baltimore, Maryland, in what was then a very elegant home, to a wealthy family, an only child. She was a debutante, went to all the society balls and cotillions and so forth. She had a very privileged life, went to finishing school in New York City. And then she married a wealthy gentleman, and he lost everything he had in the stock market crash in the early 1920s. He left her. He left her with 2 very young boys, their children, to raise by herself. Now, where is she going to get a job to earn money in the 1920s, a woman? The only thing she could think of to do was to write and try to sell her stories. She wrote fiction stories. A few of them were published in women's magazines, and the editor said, we are looking for someone to write an etiquette book for us because there's no such book on the market now. And the average American, so to speak, needs rules for etiquette, just like the people in society do, who learn them from their mothers and grandmothers and so forth. Well, she was willing to do whatever she could to earn the money, and she wrote one, and it turned out to be a bestseller. Because Emily Post was anything but a a stuffy, prim and proper person. She was a fun-loving, young woman, and she wrote as though she were talking with you in her living room. The book went through 10 editions during her lifetime, which is incredible. And she updated it every time. She said, etiquette is not a list of do's and don'ts. It's a living, breathing thing that should change with the times. Now that's the first one, and of course it was 1922. It's the Blue Book of Social Usage. But she got her own radio show, the very first call-in radio show. How about that, The receptionist would answer the phone, write down the question, take it to the MC on CBS Radio. He'd read it to her on air, and she'd answer it, just like that. And she was so humorous and yet gave good advice, so they became very popular for years. She got her own nationally syndicated column with questions and answers about etiquette. There she is later in life. And today, her descendants carry on her work at the Emily Post Institute. Her great-granddaughter-in-law writes the books under her name, some of the most recent ones for the etiquette advantage in business and etiquette itself. And if you want to look at a great resource for etiquette, you can Google on the Emily Post Institute, and you'll find a wealth of information. Everything from writing thank you notes, which is so important, handwritten always for you. And every kind of tip you could ever want. I love this quote, and I wanted to share it with you. It's our quote for the day today. She said, manners are a sensitive awareness of the feelings of others. If you have that awareness, you have good manners, no matter what form. Isn't that great for 1922? Almost did that, but I didn't want to. Beautiful. Okay, so this is the way I define professional presence. Do these people have it? Well, how do you know that? They're not even in the room. We haven't heard them speak, move. What makes you think they have it? There you go. But you can see it. How do you smile? Are they relaxed? They're in control. They're well groomed, aren't they? That everything's not like the collar stiff and prim. And they're approachable. And they have a relaxed smile about them, but they are in control of themselves. I say the professional presence, this is what I came up with. It's a combination of self-confidence. What do you do if you're not self-confident? We all know, right? What do? You act like it, right? Integrity, empathy, self-control of your emotions and knowledge, but also, how do people know that you have that self-control? By looking at your body. You have to have control of that. Respect for others and appreciation of oneself. And we really do have to love ourselves before we can truly love other people, If I know you all, and you're precious, beautiful, wonderful people. But, our worth doesn't come from our degree, doesn't come from our salary, doesn't come from our house or our children or our cars, anything else. I tell my students, it comes because you're loved and created, and you're sitting here today. That's your worth. We can all try to be better at everything we do, but our worth is set. When I took my first accounting course years ago, I always read the books before the class started. I'm so excited, I can't wait till it starts. I was reading the forward in it, and there was a phrase in there I'll always remember. It said, the worth of something is determined by the price that was paid for it. We're all worthy. And when we realize that, we can become comfortable in our own skin, and we can stop thinking about ourselves all the time. Because what we're created to do is to serve other people. And when we do what we were created to do, then we're happy. And it's lasting happiness. It's not anything that we get. It's there. And that's what good etiquette is. Now, here are the pieces. We'll go through them really quickly. A positive first impression. People believe what they first see, so you want to be in control and yet relaxed so that you'll be approachable. Okay? This is very important. Has anyone ever received a handshake that was less than impressive in a positive way? Okay. I'm about to show you how to shake hands. All right, this is the interactive part. All right, when you shake hands, you want it web to web. Okay? That will eliminate this, right? All right. Women, do we like it? Do we like this? No. And I thought this was a terrible thing until one time I was talking to a group of older executives at a corporation in Mandeville, and one gentleman raised his hand and said, Miss Anna, that's the way my mother taught me to shake a lady's hand. Oh, I didn't act surprised, but I was. I thought, here's something I didn't, I had never heard. He said, they taught us that the woman was fragile, and we should always be very gentle. So that gave me a more open mind about why some people do that, but we don't want to do that. One knows as things change. So if you will take your two hands and make sure that the webs touch, then you place. Okay? You want to kind of match the grip of the other person in a split second, because a lot of people have carpal tunnel syndrome, a lot of people have arthritis, and they're very young, you just kind of want to, and if you're shaking a gentleman's hand, and I use the term loosely, if you're shaking a gentleman's hand, and he goes into a strength contest with you, just let him go right ahead. That's just beautiful. And you want to pump 2 or 3 times. Can you do that with me? Not? If you catch yourself doing that, I caught myself doing it. I'm just kind of slow. Now, here's the key that makes all the difference, and most people do not do this. Maintain eye contact with the person whose hand you're shaking the entire time you're touching their hand. When you let go, you can break your eye contact. Almost everyone just instinctively shakes hands and their eyes dart away for just a second. It shows that you're focused on that person and you're sincere. Just the time that you're touching their hand, and then you can release eye contact. Please stand up and shake hands with the people around you.
Okay. Capture this. You can. All right. 2, 3. Oh, I forgot to keep an arrow.
Watch that eye contact. Thank you, John.